Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite geopolitical love triangle: Russia, China, and Belarus. It's like watching a soap opera where the main plotline involves military exercises, veiled threats, and a whole lot of overcompensation. So, the Chinese Ministry of Defense recently announced that they've been conducting joint military exercises with Russia since the beginning of July. Now, these are taking place near Xinjiang in southern China, and they'll continue until mid-July. They just happen to coincide with Chinese anti-terror exercises in Belarus right on the Polish border. You know, because nothing screams peace and stability quite like a good old-fashioned show of military might. According to the Chinese, these joint C-2024 exercises are meant to demonstrate their determination and ability to jointly address maritime security threats and maintain global and regional peace and stability. Right, because when I think of maintaining peace, I immediately think of Russia and China flexing their military muscles near NATO borders. And speaking of NATO, these exercises are conveniently timed with the NATO summit in Washington, a summit that unsurprisingly concluded that China has become a major enabler of Russia's war in Ukraine through their so-called no-limits partnership and substantial support for the Russian defense industry. It's almost as if they're saying, oh, you're having a summit to discuss our meddling? Well, let's just park some tanks on your lawn to keep things interesting. Even Japan has raised concern in their latest defense white paper about the increasing military cooperation between China and Russia, which includes more frequent naval voyages near Japanese territory. This growing partnership is understandably making everyone in the region a tad nervous. Now, historically, Russia was more advanced than China, especially in military terms, but that gap has closed significantly. China's population and economic power dwarf Russia's by about 10 times. And let's not forget Russia's fixation on natural resources while being acutely aware of China's enormous appetite for those same resources. It's a match made in geopolitical hell. Russia's previous policy balanced anti-Western rhetoric with pragmatic actions like exporting energy to the European Union. But now its awkward bromance with China is both tactically reasonable and strategically foolish. Russia's relationship with dictators in Africa, Syria, Venezuela, and elsewhere cannot offset the rocky ties with Beijing. While a friendship with China might seem like a good tactical move, in the grand scheme, it might not pan out that well.
То, что они несут миру, ужасно. Украина списана. Задача Украины — быть уничтоженной. Я когда слышу разговоры о мире, о мирных переговорах, мы же сами понимаем, что это все ненадолго. Любой мир, который мы заключим с этими людьми, будет длиться ровно столько, сколько им надо, чтобы подготовиться к уничтожению нас. Поэтому я и говорю о ядерном оружии, о решительности его использования. Поэтому я говорю, что время, когда каждый за себя, прошло. Нам противостоит системный, мощный враг. Не Украина, НАТО. Абсолютно сатанинской по своей природе организации, которая объединяет практически население в 1 миллиард человек, мощнейший военно-промышленный комплекс, научный потенциал. А мы же демократическая страна. Вот единая воля нашего народа требует победы. Давайте немножко в чувство все придем и будем делать каждый на своем месте все, что необходимо для победы, которая придет не скоро и которая, увы, будет нелегкой и требует от нас длинной воли и осознанных, пусть и не всегда популярных среди вчерашних хохлов, а сегодняшних ультрапатриотов решений.
Did you hear that? Democracies of Russia, China, and Belarus. Soloviev is prepping Russia for World War III, claiming that it's a democratic country. Sure, because nothing says democracy quite like 3 autocrats dragging the world into war in its name. Honestly, can't make this stuff up. In the end, it's all about symbols and messages. Russia and China are making sure that their presence is felt right on NATO's eastern flank, showing that they too can play the game of strategic chess thumping. And there you have it, a high-stake game of geopolitical poker where everyone's bluffing but no one's willing to fold. Now let's talk about Russia and the Olympics, as Russia is feeling a bit left out of the Olympic fund this year. For the first time in 40 years, they won't be participating in the same capacity as before. Svetlana Zhurova, a deputy of the Russian State Duma and an Olympic speed skating champion, lamented on Soleil Live that even in the days of the Soviet Union, they had their flag, their athletes on the podium, and no restrictions. The good old days when international doping scandals weren't raining on their parade. Zhurova expressed her concern, saying that our people just won't like it. People watch the Olympics for our athletes. Now, most won't understand if it's even shown on central channels. Well, Svetlana, it seems like the world won't understand how Russia can claim Olympic glory without, actually competing under their own flag.
Впервые за 40 лет в России не будут показывать Олимпийские игры. Ваше отношение к этому каково?
Ну, во-первых, давайте так говорить, что впервые за 40 лет мы и не участвуем в них в том статусе, в котором участвовали раньше. То есть даже когда это был Советский Союз, то мы участвовали все-таки как Советский Союз, флаг, гимн игрался, флаг поднимался, наши спортсмены входили на пьедестал, никаких ограничений по их участию не было. Поэтому, в общем-то, впервые ситуация, когда нашим людям просто не понравится, особенно тем, кто, скажем, спорт смотрел исключительно только и ту же Олимпиаду, потому что там выступали наши. Вот они ровно там раз в 4 года летние, раз в 4 года зимние, в принципе, включали свои телевизоры и, скорее всего, смотрели именно по этой причине, потому что болели за наших. Не думаю, что многие там, может быть, по каким-то еще видам спорта чемпионата мира смотрели, но чтобы в целом смотреть Олимпиаду, люди, конечно, смотрели из-за наших. Поэтому сейчас, вот представьте, сказать людям, знаете, вот наших там нет, но вот смотрите Олимпиаду. Вот мы на это потратили деньги, заплатили за трансляцию. То есть на самом деле, конечно, просто большинство людей не поймут, если это будет показано по центральным каналам.
So, what do you do when you're Russia and you've been banned for systemic doping? Simple, just play the little victim and act like the world is missing out on your athlete's greatness. And let's be honest, who wouldn't miss the drama of athletes dodging drug tests like they're in the Matrix? But fear not, Russia, even without the Olympics, you still have plenty of opportunities to flex your muscles, like, those joint military exercises with China, or my personal favorite, the anti-terror drills in Belarus. So here's to you, Russia. While the rest of the world enjoys the Olympics, you can sit back, relax, and watch the fireworks from the sidelines. Who needs gold medals when you have geopolitical posturing? Now, what's new in Russia? What problems have been plaguing the country? Perhaps the high death rates due to the ongoing war? Or perhaps some societal problems? Nope, now the main problem is the pigs. Yep, pigs, animals who escaped from the yard of a Russian farmer. Not that they escaped per se, but the fact that they had dug up dozens of fallen Russian soldiers. Let's take a look.
В этих кадрах 100-килограммовый хряк роется в святая святых, словно в грязи. Стадо веслобрюхих осквернило десятки сельских могил, и что самое свинское, разворотило захоронение павших героев.
Здесь покоится участник СВО погибший, могила разрыта.
Скотина сбегает со двора местного фермера, который делает колбасу.
Now, if the best comedic writers were tasked to produce a skit about Russian village life, they wouldn't be able to produce anything remotely as weird as this. Now, we're actually wondering how are the Russian journalists going to spin this? Pro-Ukrainian pigs sabotage Russian heroes. Kind of like the mosquito story, remember? Yep, another Russian nonsense. Now, to close out today's episode, we want to bring you some Ukrainian reality. The reality of people who've been fighting for their freedom for more than 2 years now. Let's take a look at a regular house in a Ukrainian village.
Не викидай, воно пригодиться.
Yeah, we can joke all day about the owner of the house making money after selling that thing, but serious talk. This thing inside the building looks like an additional fuel tank for a plane or helicopter, sometimes dropped after being empty during flights to reduce weight en route. In this case, most likely on their way to down a rocket fired from Russia. Bizarre sights like these have been brought from Russia when it decided to wage a war on Ukraine. And of course, we hope it'll end soon. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.